I think not. Has anyone heard of Dombey and Son? Right,
Not really.
exactly. So it's like a B tier kind of one.
It sounds like a law firm.
It is a firm, to be fair.
Okay, there we go.
It is not clear what they do. They own a counting house, which all the Victorian companies seem to own. I don't know what? They're counting.
So it might have been a law firm.
It might have been. So basically, Dombey is just this really strict, like, Victorian gentleman. His, dad and granddad have all had this company, Dombey and Son. And for a long time, there's not been a son, because he only has a daughter, Florence, who he really just despises. He's zero interest in her because she's
not a son.
Because she's not a son. But he's also not nice to her or his wife. And the way he talks to them, like, he'll be talking to... his wife or something, and she'll say something, and he's like, "What? Have you not heard of Dombey and Son, woman?" Like, he's just always talking about his company and how important it is. I don't get it, because it's just like, okay, you're a kind of well-off businessman. Like, congrats, I guess. But he goes on about it non-stop, as if it's, like, just the most important thing. It's like, yeah, you ran a company in London at a particular point of time. Like, whatever, But...
So it's a very modern book, then.
Well... This also would still apply to
society.
So the mum unfortunately dies, giving birth to finally a son. And I think the son is the only character in the whole book that he's nice to at all. So the son dies.
Obviously. Of course, only good people die in Dickens.
Yeah. Skipping ahead a bit, but yeah, the son's born, he's very sickly. And he keeps trying to teach the son how to be, Dombey and Son, basically. But the son is nice, and it's like, I really like my sister. And the dad is jealous of the sister. He's like, everyone likes Florence. Everyone likes Florence so much that the servants like her. Even my son, who I own, who's supposed to be an extension of me, likes Florence. And he's just so mad all the time that people like... At no point does he think, like, oh, what if I'm not a giant ass to everyone I meet? What if I'm nice like Florence is? Maybe people will like me.
I don't know, Florence is kind of overrated. I generally prefer Milan. But...
So, Florence is, like, a bit too much of the, like... Her entire life, she's basically never left the house. Like, super, super naive, doesn't have any experience of life. Goes out into the street one time and gets kidnapped by good Mrs. Brown.
Is she good, though?
No, it's an old witch woman.
Okay.
But the old witch woman just kind of steals her jumper and then lets her go, so it's kind of fine. Meanwhile, the son gets sent to a school with a mean old teacher, and then it's kind of a repeat of everything else from the other book, except he... wins them over, and once they find out he's dying, then they become nice to him, and then they hold like a big party, and they say he's the best student they've ever had, and it's all kind of nice. So the mum dies, that's a bit sad. There's sort of a second half of the book with this chap called Walter, who works for Dombey, a young fellow. He lives in a house that sells like old shipping equipment, and has like a wooden midshipman on the door, with his old uncle, Saul Gills. And they have a friend called Captain Cuttle.
Saul Gills? Like Better Call Saul?
Yeah. It's confusing because I'm losing track of the characters a bit in this one because they're less interesting than in Nickleby. But it's like Saul Gills and Captain Cuttle. It's made confusing by the fact that one of the characters calls them all by the wrong name as well, so that makes it even harder to keep track of who's who. There's a Mr. Toots.
There you go. Yeah.
Who I think is a young gentleman from the school that Nickleby that Dombey went to, that someone went to. There's Rob the Grinder. So, yeah. So basically, what happens
We're
is...
not calling you that.
No. Right. There's Susan Nipper. Susan Nipper.
We'll call you that.
Susan Nipper is the woman who looks after Florence, and Mrs. Richards looks after the young Dombey. Mrs. Richards is not her name. Dombey basically hires a nanny, and this woman has her own family and her own kids, and he's like, right, you're going to live in my house, you're going to be renamed Mrs. Richards, and you're not to see your own family for several years.
Okay.
Which is just completely unnecessary, but like, alright, I guess. So she sneaks out to see her family once and gets fired. And her son is Rob the Grinder. They send him to like a school, and I keep confusing Rob with Mr. Toots because they both don't do much and they're both silly.
Right, is there an origin to the name though? Like,
yeah, also, like,
he sounds like a wrestler or
Yeah.
Or keep going. Finish that sentence. Oh, right.
But the worst
Okay.
thing
I
is,
was gonna go make
I think
prostitute,
Rob. I confuse him
That's a
with...
different type of grinding than I was
Stage
thinking.
I'm confusing him with Mr. Toots because Rob's real surname is Toddle. So it's
Okay.
Rob the Grinder Toddle.
Is he making them silly by choice, or were
Oh,
all
obviously.
they silly back then?
I don't. It's the Dickensian naming convention, and I do love it.
I
Yeah,
just-
because Smike is a real name.
Yeah.
I just want to believe that Victoria's names were just all stupid.
Yeah.
You know?
So basically, Walter works for Dombey. There's a chap called Mr. Carker, the manager, and his older brother, Mr. Carker the Junior. Basically, Mr. Carker the Junior used to be important in the company, but got caught stealing. So now they keep him relegated in this little sad corner seat, and they just like make fun of him constantly. And everyone says like, I wouldn't care if someone said I didn't get a promotion in work, but they constantly belittle this guy. Like, he's been here so long and not been promoted, and they're all like hissing and booing at this poor guy for like not having got a promotion or whatever. Meanwhile, Mr. Carker the manager is literally Uriah Heep from David Copperfield, constantly like, "Oh, Dombey, but you're such a great man, and I'm so humble, I couldn't possibly do anything." Meanwhile, he's sowing a lot of seeds to essentially take over the company, exactly like Uriah Heep. So Dombey goes off to the countryside. They meet an old major called Joey Bagstock, and
Sure.
he's always naming himself in like multiple ways. So all of his conversations will be like, "I'm just an old major, old Joey Bagstock, old Josh Bagstock, old Major Joey B, old Major Joe," and he'll say that in every sentence. So every piece of dialogue he has, he gives himself 4 different names. He's like, old Major Bagstock says you're a good fellow. Old Joe says you're a good fellow. So does old Major Bagstock? Does old Josh Bagstock? So these are the types of characters that we get in the book. It's really not as coherent as Nickleby. It's a bit all over the place. But basically, what happens is Walter falls in love with Florence. So Mr. Carker sends him off like to the Americas or somewhere on a voyage that gets shipwrecked. So he's gone. Mrs. Richards gets fired because Florence likes her, I guess, and so does Susan Nipper. Dombey gets married again to this young woman called Edith, who has no interest in him at all, but he courts her, and her mum persuades her to marry him, for money or whatever. There's a bit of a side story where she's like, "Mother, you've basically prostituted me, you've raised me all this time, you've been a terrible mother, you would sell me off to the highest bidder. I'm not going to flirt with him, I'm not going to do anything to entice him, and then it'll be his reward when he ends up with a broken, bitter old person like me." But she goes on about how hard she's had it and how terrible things are, but we don't actually see any of that. She seems just like a normal person, and her mom's like, "Do you want to marry this rich guy?" Basically, it doesn't seem like anything that untoward. But she marries Dombey, and they argue so much. So Dombey's answer is, "I'll use my manager to manage my marriage." So he keeps sending Mr. Carker in to have a conversation. He's like, "I am not happy. My wife's conduct is unsatisfactory."
To his wife?
Yeah, he'll say. So him and the wife talk to Mr. Carker in front of each other. So they'll be sitting in the room together, and they'll be like, "Mr. Carker, please tell my wife over there that I'm not happy with her conduct."
Is it kind of like marriage counseling situation?
And Carker's like, "Do you only want me to do it because you know she hates me?" And he's like, "Yes."
For good reasons.
So, yeah, the son's dead, everything's sad, Walter's off, shipwrecked, old Saul Gills goes off to find him, and then never comes back either. So Captain Cuttle takes over the shop, and Rob the Grinder works with him, and it doesn't really matter. But essentially, Florence runs away from home and goes to live with Captain Cuttle and the lads. And eventually Walter comes back and he's not really dead, and they all get married again, and everybody pairs up again, and it's all happy. Mr. Carker tries to take over the company, and it all leads to bad things. The new wife runs away with Carker, but
she hated
kind
him.
of kills him.
Okay, fair enough.
So everyone's besmirched, and all their reputations are ruined, and Dombey's, and then it turns out there's been some bad business dealings that Carker's done, so he loses his son, and his daughter, and his wife, and his company, and he ends up like an old bankrupt. And I was kind of like, good, fair, you're a terrible person. But Florence feels so sad for him, so the happy ending of the book is that she persuades him to be nice to her. And he comes in and they have grandkids, and then he really likes the grandkids, and he even really likes the daughter because he learned that girls also have value as human beings and family members.
No
It's like he had a special place in his heart for young Florence.
For a Victorian.
For a man.
But of course,
Victorian man, yeah.
what I was hoping for is that he would realize sooner and rename the company like Dombey and Daughter or something, and and actually care about her. But no, he waits until he loses literally everything,
Dombey
including
and
his
grandson.
Yeah, he waits until he loses his house, his company, and he's homeless and everything, and he looks like a withered old man. And then he's like, my daughter's literally a really amazing person who I've treated horribly her entire life. What if I'm just literally civil to her now? But there's a sad part where he even says, like, I treated her so bad and she's been really good and everyone likes her and there's probably a reason for that. And yet if she were here right now, I would spurn her again, for it is my, it is my nature. It's like, God damn it. Why?
So it gets...
It just about gets a yeah. Like, it was fun, and bits of it were silly and things like that, but it's nowhere near as good as Nicholas Nickleby, which itself is already a downgrade on, like, the big three, like Great Expectations and David Copperfield. It's kind of like a B- tier. It was fun, it was fine. I would not recommend it to anyone as, like, their first Dickens, Only if you've already read, like, 5 others.